Hello. Yesterday, September 2, was a very special day for me and my lovely. It was our 2-year anniversary. I proposed via Skype while teaching in Korea, and the video on the call didn't work, so I sent 3 photos of the ring and me in a suit and had her open them in a very specific order as I nervously asked her to marry me. She never actually said yes. She's a brilliant Arab woman, sadistically funny, and generous to the point that it wears at her. She also has the best accent. She's the one who drew my default avatar that I use for everything. It's the picture of us lying together. And before we were together, she was a medical student, just 2 rotations from graduation. Unfortunately, she's from a community in an African country that didn't protect her rights as a person, and her family is strict, even abusive, and treated her as a commodity to be forcibly married for political or financial gain. She's lived through too much abuse while dealing with her own depression, and she has been robbed of a lot of hope. She was pulled from medical school to live with family in Saudi Arabia, not a great place for women, in order to marry a man she had never met. It never went through, but she's still there. Away from her parents, who she still loves, despite their difficulties, and away from her sisters and her brother, and away from any sort of real love and support. That day was also almost 2 years ago. So September is a complicated month for her. There have been chances to bolt, but the shame it'd bring on her family guilts her into staying. Her family would be tarnished by her selfish actions. I would never call it selfish, but that's how her family would perceive it. Her sisters would lose chances for marriage, which is their main opportunity for a life with any sort of comfort, and her brother would lose business opportunities, and her parents would be forever haunted, ostracized from their community and maybe even family. It's a complicated situation that's not as easy as just run, which is the usual advice. Some days she feels like there's no future for her or for us. Sadly, it's not enough to have one person in her whole life who's oceans away telling her she's important, no matter how much I say it. We didn't get to talk yesterday, or at all this week. We used to talk every day, but her family has tightened up even more due to a cousin attempting to flee. My lovely is not the only one in her family who wants better than what they're forcing her into. I haven't heard her voice since March, when she hid in the running shower and had spotty Wi-Fi, so she couldn't even hear me. Before that, we had a few minutes during New Year's, an old tradition of ours, and before that, November. It's been a year or so since we had regular calls. I can't easily explain the worry of not hearing from her for a few days. Is she in the hospital from her bad heart? Is it endocarditis, her mitral valve prolapse? Does she finally need surgery, a transplant, or a valve repair? Is she there from another car accident, or abuse, or self-harm? Has she been caught trying to talk to me? Last year, I ordered a blue giraffe off Amazon as a promise I'd give it to her one day. This year, I highlighted moments from our 4,000-page Skype conversation that I log in a single-spaced Word document. It was sweet nostalgia, but also came with a promise. in 2 months, I'll be leaving for Korea to teach English to cute little Korean kids again. While there, I'll study online for my master's in science education for teaching English to speakers of other languages, which will let me teach almost anywhere in the world. Wherever she is in a few years, I plan to be near. Maybe I'll just be a friendly face at the market, or maybe a resource for if she decides it's time to leave. But hopefully enough to keep her hopeful for any sort of future. Thank you for listening.